What's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be chucking a motor on the Kmart bike. I bought one of those 80cc motorised bike kits off eBay. I've had one in the past, some of you guys might know that because I do have a video of it on YouTube. Yeah, this is it right here, the Huffy. It was pretty sketchy, but I had a lot of fun on it. I didn't really do it all properly, so I'm going to make sure I do everything how it's supposed to be. Like, I mounted the motor to the frame by like drilling a hole in it and just putting a nut the other side here, so it's kind of sketchy. Since my last Kmart bike video, I've made a few changes to the bike, and the first one is I'm now running BMX cranks. The mountain bike cranks just kept coming loose all the time, and I remembered I had this Euro bottom bracket laying around. Well, I think that's what they're called, and that allows you to run BMX cranks in a threaded frame. These ones were off my old dirt jumper, and all the paint was like missing from here, and they were a bit rusty, so I sanded them back and painted them last night. Also, I'm running a different back wheel now. I'd actually feel bad using such a good wheel for what I'm about to do to the bike, but I actually feel a bit better about it since it's all worn out and it's actually missing a few teeth on the driver. They snapped off. So obviously I'm running a BMX chain now. This was the chain off my old dirt jumper, and I found a bit of a leftover chain and joined it in to get the length there. I'm running a 26-inch front wheel now with an old downhill tire on it that's like basically completely bald apart from the side. And the final thing I did to it was give it a bit of a paint up from where I cut the frame guides off, just so it doesn't rust or anything for having bare metal. And yeah, I painted the cranks. That's about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the back wheel and put the sprocket on it. This is a sprocket that comes with the kit, and you attach it to the wheel using these two rubber things, and the bolts go through the frame. Oh, hold up. This one actually has holes drilled in closer. I wonder if they match up with a disc brake mount. Yeah, they actually do. That's so good because I don't want to be running bolts through the spokes on this wheel. This is usually how you mount the rear sprocket, with bolts going through the spokes, and it's kind of sketchy. So if that actually works out, I'm going to be stoked. Let's see if this will work out. I'm using the bolts from the front disc brake off the Kmart bike. I'm putting a bit of thread locker on them. I can't see why this won't work. The only way it wouldn't is if the sprocket hits the frame on the inside there. Ooh, that's going to be close. We'll find out later, I guess, if the chain fits through there. Next up, I've got to mount the engine to the frame. Let's see how it fits up. Yeah, that should be good. I reckon that'll work out. Might take these two bolts out of the frame though. Inside of the motor mounts here, I'm thinking about cutting a bit of a bike tube and sticking it on the inside, just so it doesn't mark up the frame, and also they'll reduce the vibrations. I thought I was smart for thinking of that, then I had a look in the book and it actually suggests that you do that. I've got an old super thick tube that I'm going to cut up. Man, these things are tough. Beautiful. Probably don't really have to glue the inner tube in place, but I might just do it. Probably make mounting it up a bit easier. For the front mount, I'm going to be using this universal mount. My other motorised bike kit that I got for that other bike didn't even come with that, so that'll actually be handy. I might get a bit of garden hose and put it around this bend here so it'll protect the frame. Work well. They're both looking pretty good there. I've got the motor in place now, I just have to tighten it up and put the mounts on. I'm going to use a bit of thread locker also. The hose and the tubes did a good job. Seems to be pretty dialed. Next up, I'm going to throw on the clutch lever and clutch cable. I just got to take this grip off first. I've got the clutch lever here. I'm going to slide it on the bar now. I'll probably tighten it back up once I get the grip back on there. Alright, so now I'm going to install the clutch cable. I'm going to put that in there. Get that all straight in through here. Like that. And now I'm going to do this up. Now I'm going to run the cable down to this thing here. It's kind of hard to film this all when I'm doing it by myself. Alright, so from the lever, you go to this spring right here, and that's to protect the cable from the heat of the engine. And then there's a little silver piece that goes in here, and I think that just helps guide the cable straight through that little thing in there. And then there's another spring that goes in between this lever here and then that thing in there, and then you screw that down to hold the cable in place. So when you pull the clutch lever in, it brings that arm this way, and that allows the engine to spin freely, and when you let go, that'll engage the engine and it'll actually turn over. Now I'm going to try and install the chain. First of all, I've got to take this master link off. Got it. Now that the chain's in half, I've got to try to thread it through here. I just put the clutch in so I'll be able to spin this, and hopefully I'll be able to spin around with the chain on it. There it goes. Alright, moment of truth to see if this will work out. It's not looking good. I knew it was too good to be true. Yeah, nah, that's not gonna work. The chain's hitting the frame and the sprocket's not quite lined up with the engine properly. Needs to come across this way more. Damn. That would have been so good if it was that simple. And I really don't want to be mounting the sprocket to these spokes here. I just had a look online, and you can buy like an adapter to make this work. It mounts onto the disc brake mount, and it kind of spaces it out behind here, and then you just mount your sprocket to that. So either I'll buy one of those and wait, I don't even know how long it would take for that to get here. Also, when I was looking online, I found one dude who like made his own adapter up. I could try to do that, but it would probably be really sketchy. Or I could mount the sprocket to the spokes and risk destroying a really nice wheel. So I'm thinking about just giving it a go at making a bootleg one, and if it doesn't work, I'll order a different adapter off the internet. This is the plan, right? I'm going to use a disc and mount that to the hub regularly. And what I'm going to do here is drill a sprocket out where these holes are. I need to drill a hole a little bit bigger than that. And then use these bolts here. Once they go through there, I'm going to put some spaces in between and then attach it to the sprocket. I drilled all the holes in the brake rotor and the sprocket so they all line up. Now what I got to do is cut the center of this out so I actually clear the disc brake mount on the hub. Alright guys, I got the sprocket to clear the disc brake mount on the hub. Even if I did mount the sprocket to the spokes, I still would have had to done that anyway. Alright guys, I'm going to try to put the adapter together now and see if it actually works out. So I'm going to be putting the washer on this bolt right here and then pushing it through. And I'm going to be putting 2 nuts as the spacers. So I'm going to screw those on. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and do that for all the holes now. This is what it's looking like at the moment. I left them all a little bit loose so it'll be easier to line up with the disc brake. Alright, so now I'm going to add the disc brake on. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to add a washer, one of those lock washers or whatever they're called, and then an actual nut from the kit. I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. Oh, nice and straight. I'm really stoked on how that worked out. The only thing I'm worried about is these. Obviously I'll have to cut those off, but I think even the nut and the washer is hanging out too far. So we'll see what happens anyway. I've got to cut these off now. Alright, let's see if we'll fit. Oh, not quite. I was right. Those nuts are too long, brother. This part's hanging out too far. Might just put one nut on there instead of all these washers and shit. I swapped out all that other stuff for just one thin nut and some thread locker. Now I just got to cut these off again. Alright, let's see if it'll fit now. I really hope it does, because now that I've cut these off, I can't even mount it to the spokes even if I wanted to. I'd have to pull the other one off the other bike. And it fits. So good. Finally. It fits in there alright, and it's nice and straight too. Much better than mounting it to the spokes. I was actually kind of worried about this not being strong enough, but it definitely is. This Kmart rotor is actually that strong. It was so hard just to drill through it. Yep, everything's all good there. The chain fits in nicely. Now I'm going to take it all off and give it a paint. It's the next day now, and the paint dried on the sprocket. I already went ahead and put it on, as you can see. Now I'm going to do the chain. Alright, got to join the chain back up now, using the master link. I'm going to try avoid using the chain tensioner. They mount to the frame around here somewhere. And if you ride these really aggressively, they can get pulled in towards the spokes. So on my other bike, it happened all the time. It ended up denting all the frame up. And when it gets pulled into the spokes, it just destroys all the spokes, snaps them and whatever. So I'm going to just try avoid that for now. I can always move the wheel back further to tighten the chain if I need to. But you can also buy chain tensioners that mount up here somewhere, so it's just like a wheel on a spring, and that's a much better idea than putting it here where it can get pulled into the spokes. On this bike I used to run one of those chain tensioners, and as you can see here, it's like bent the frame, it's like indented in, and yeah, it just kept getting pulled into the back wheel. I even tried to like put a screw in it so it wouldn't like tilt in towards that, but yeah, that's kind of sketchy. This is a wheel I used to run on my old motorised bike, and as you can see, it's like got heaps of broken spokes. They're all that loose, they're snapped. It's just not good for the wheel, that kind of setup. Now I'm going to install the throttle. I'll probably only use one of the sides that's actually needed, unless it feels uncurved, because these grips are pretty average. That looks so cool at the moment, but as soon as you like add the fuel tank and that, it doesn't look as good. It's kind of like suited towards beach cruisers and that. It doesn't really suit mountain bikes. You've got to drill a hole in the bars to hold it all in place, and this is a little notch that goes in the hole, so I'm going to put a bit of paint on there from this texture to help mark it easier. And put this on how I want it, about that will do. And then I'm going to put this on, and that should put the mark where I want it. Boom. Perfect. So now I'm going to put this thing through here. And now I'll slide this back through. Put that on. Next up, I've got to install a carburetor. There we go. These engine kits have gotten a lot better since I first got mine. The head used to come facing this way, so the spark plug would point this way, and you could hardly even get it in the frame. And also the manifolds are a lot shorter now, so you can actually fit the carburetors on a bit easier. Now I'm going to put on the fuel tank. I'll probably get a bit of bike tube also and put it on this side and also on the clamping side, just to keep it all nice. I stuck a bit of tube underneath it, and now I'm screwing in this petcock thing. I use some of this stuff also. So now I'm just going to do it all the way up. Finally got the fuel tank all finished. Now I'll probably do the fuel lines next. Got the fuel line and fuel filter done. Haven't got much left to do now. I just have to do the CDI and the exhaust. At the moment I'm thinking about where I should mount the CDI. I reckon around here should be good. Hopefully it doesn't get too hot because of the engine though, but it seems to be the tidiest place to put it. If you put it up here and that doesn't look as good, I just want everything to be compact and in one area. There's no way the stock bracket was going to work to mount the CDI, so I found this other metal piece in the kit and I bent that around, and that's still just not going to fit. Screws aren't quite long enough, so what I'm going to do is grab a drill and drill these a bit deeper so the screws would be able to go down further, and then it should work out. It ended up working pretty good. I even put a bit of tube in under there. Now all I have to do is put on the exhaust and see if that will clear it. I just went ahead and put that little exhaust support on. My original kit didn't even come with that, and my muffler snapped off right here and it was just like a straight pipe. Alright guys, everything's almost done. I just did the wiring. The black wire goes to the black wire. The blue wire goes to the blue wire. It's pretty simple. From the engine to the CDI. I'm about to give it its first lot of petrol. The ratio is 16:1, so let's see how this goes. All I really have to do now is tidy up the wiring the kill switch, and just neaten up all the cables and that. There we go, that's way better already. This is what I've done with the wiring for the kill switch so far. I brought it along here and taped it and zip tied it along the bars, and then it comes down here along the fuel tank, and then it comes down here. It's taped to the spark plug lead, and then it ends off here. I stripped off this black stuff that goes around both the cables, so they're two separate ones. These connectors are useless. When I unplugged it, they broke off. So I didn't even pull on it hard and the connectors just came off. So I'll probably solder the cables straight together. So basically this is how I'm going to do the wiring. The blue wire from the motor goes to the blue wire on the CDI. And also the yellow wire from the kill switch is joined in there too. So 3 wires in that one connection, and then for the other one, the black wire from the CDI and the black wire from the engine, and also the black wire from the kill switch is in this one. So I'm going to give it a test and see what happens. All good. I just finished up with the wiring. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Looks nice and tidy, and that shouldn't come apart. I'm thinking about taking the bike chain off. On my old motorised bike, I never had a chain on that, and for some reason I've got a habit where I just scoot anyway to start it. That was sick. I've been messing around on it for about half an hour and everything seems to be going pretty well. The only thing that's not quite right yet is this back sprocket. It's kind of like hitting up against the frame, and it's going to damage the frame if I keep riding it like that. Yeah, as you can see, it's been hitting the frame there and it's starting to damage it a little bit. So I better stop riding it until I get that all sorted. I grinded them down pretty flat now. You could probably hardly even get a spanner on there now. Looks like there's a lot more room there now, so hopefully it's all good. Everything's dialed in now. I'm so keen to go have a session on it. These things are that fun. Alright, we're on the GoPro now. I'll probably take it pretty easy because I got to break the engine in and I want to see if everything's all dialed. But anyway, it should be still fun. Alright, let's get it. running properly. It should be going quicker than this. Feels like it's being restricted or something. I don't know what's up, but they definitely go faster than this. Everything seems fairly dialed apart from the fuel tank leaking a lot of fuel. It's like whenever I jump in that, it just keeps coming out the top there. Also, it just doesn't seem to have the power it should. The motor's not revving really hard. It seems like it's only at half throttle. I might need to adjust the accelerator cable or something. How you going? Anyway, mate, it's been a while since you've been on my YouTube.
Fucking right, mate.
Yeah. Alright, see ya. Just got back from the ride. I'm really happy with how the bike went. Didn't have any major problems at all. I was probably riding it for about 2 hours also. The only problems it's got at the moment is the fuel tank's leaking, which is really annoying because now everything's all dirty. Also the choke keeps lifting up, so it keeps coming up as I'm riding and then it slows it all down and it doesn't run well. Also, I think the exhaust is really restrictive because it's not revving as hard as I remember they usually do. So I might have to modify that. I'll probably end up modifying everything because it is actually a little bit slow how it is at the moment. So I wouldn't mind getting it going a bit quicker. Just the acceleration really. It's not very responsive at the moment. I'm pretty happy with how this back sprocket turned out too. It's working really well now that I've ground those things down. To finish this video off, I'm going to send it off the ramp. So if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. Give this video a big thumbs up. I'm going to send it right here, right now. Yeah, that was so sick.